Welcome to the world of Juniper Mountain Coffee, where they believe in the power of direct trade. They work with over 200 multi-generational farmers, cutting out the middleman to bring you the freshest coffee at an affordable price. Their 15 years of experience in roasting coffee, the best coffee on the planet, has resulted in a Q-grade score of 87. This makes them a leader in high-end specialty coffee. Now, to put that in perspective, your green brand, the Hillary coffees of the world, is about a 60. This is way above that. They also prioritize sustainable coffee farming practices, focusing on conservation to ensure the future of fine coffee drinking. Juniper Mountain is a family-owned business just like mine, steeped in Western hunting tradition and fair chase ethics, so you can feel good about every single sip. Try Juniper Mountain coffee just like we drink here at Eastmans. I wanted to share with you my recent experience with Sawyer products. They offer a great selection of products that are must-have if you're on an outdoor adventure. Their range includes water filtration systems, insect repellent, sunscreen, and even first aid kits, so you can be prepared for any situation in the backcountry. I highly recommend their dependable and top-notch lightweight products for your next outdoor adventure. The water filters work in any situation. They even have one that is good for 400,000 gallons of water. And if you buy a water filter, you're helping to save lives all over the world. They donate millions of filters to communities that don't have clean, drinkable water. I also love their sunscreen. It lasts all day, is not greasy, and is virtually scent-free. Their bug spray repels ticks and other biting bugs. You put it on your clothes or your pets, and it's good for 6 washings. It even works on my horses. So before your next adventure, check them out at Sawyer.com and let them know you heard it here, and thank them for supporting Eastmans. Welcome to Eastman's Hunting Journal podcast. I'm your host, Ike Eastman. Today, I have a special guest, Chris Burandt, who I've looked up to in the snowmobiling world for better part of 2 decades. And I've got the opportunity to sit down with him and talk a little bit of that and talk hunting. He's a huge hunter. Of course, he lives in one of the best states to do that, Colorado. And, I think we first connected on the hunting side, and then we got to talking about snowmobiling, and it's been a long time coming. Chris, I just appreciate you coming on the time, and I know this is right before hunting season starts for you, which I'm sure goes directly from hunting right into sledding, which you're got to be super busy. In fact, when I had my guy reach out, I thought, he might be in South America. I don't know if they're still doing that or if COVID turned that off permanently, but I know you used to do that too. So I appreciate you coming on. Where are you at today?
What's up, Ike? First of all, thanks for having me on. This is awesome. I've been not only a big fan of you guys and what you do, but again, like we were just talking about, the correlation between hunting and snowmobiling is just awesome. So you are in fact right. I am here in my home state of Colorado, panicking, getting all the last minute details dialed in for archery season, which opens next Saturday. I've been scouting my butt off. I used my 9 Colorado points I had saved up and drew my tag for this season in a unit that's pretty close to my house, which has been fun. And I've been scouting my butt off and ready to get on elk. Yep.
Oh, nice. Perfect. So, have you found any big groups of bulls, bachelor bulls, or are they elk acting ruddy at all yet?
So it's been interesting. I've been scouting since late June, and it's interesting. This unit I'm hunting is close to my house, but I've just never been in it. It's a draw unit, and I've been an over-the-counter hunter since the beginning, and so this is my first draw unit opportunity, and I've never seen so many elk in my life, and it's been like. Scouting I didn't think scouting could be as fun as it was. And I've seen there'd be days I'd see 400 elk. And those big bachelor herds of bulls. And so it's been phenomenal. And it's interesting. It's changing. It's, where all of these big herds were. I went up just the other day, and this basin had been holding like hundreds of elk, and they are not there anymore. So it is, yeah, and that's fine. That's good. That means they're moving, and it's getting close to September, which means the action is about to start.
No, that's going to be a target-rich environment, that's for sure.
But yeah, it should be good. And I've talked to a few people who've hunted the unit, and they said just be ready to have a ball. Lots of elk action, lots of calling, and I think that's the key, and that's what you look for is just opportunities.
Yeah, 100%. And the game of archery is putting, getting the stars to align, and sometimes if you're a horrible shot like me, it's getting the stars to align multiple times.
Yeah, you try not to use the multiple time thing, but yeah, and and just I guess as many years as I've been doing archery, what I have found to be the key to this success is preparation, for one, and two, just working your ass off. I am not afraid to, if I hear the bull like in the bottom of the nastiest drainage, I mean, I don't even have to like, oh, I don't want to go down there. I am already running down there. And because I know, like you said, I mean, it takes, just, you cannot do 99% things right in archery. You have to do 100. And so like, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to screw it up, and you just need as many opportunities as it takes to get it 100% right to be successful.
That's right. That's 100%. And that's what's fun in my opinion. That's what makes it challenging, and that's what makes it fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's easy, but if it was easy, it wouldn't bring us back every time over and over and over again, like it does now.
I think we and this is, it's no different than snowmobiles. Sometimes if people are given the option in life to take the hard route or the easy route, there are a lot of people where archery isn't for them because it's just plain hard. And it's the same thing for snowmobiling. I mean, mountain riding is a whole different ball game, and you can still go to the mountains and have fun, but that person's definition of fun and my definition of fun is kind of two different things.
Yep. And it's a progression. I've always said you progress in one thing, and sometimes it leads into other stuff. Like I've heard a lot of guys, they go from fly fishing to bow hunting, or they go from bow hunting to fly fishing, or they take some other, even if it's golf, and they take it to the next level because that's their personality, that's who they are. And I think, obviously you took from snowmobiling into the archery, and just skipped rifle hunting, skipped all that, and just went right into bow hunting. So what are you shooting now? You said you were overnighting broadheads. What did you overnight?
Well, so I am sure. Okay, so this you guys do a great job of doing like gear breakdowns and all this fun stuff, and it's overwhelming in this industry of what bow, what arrow, what poundage. I mean, all the stuff, and
the weights and the
it's terrible, to be honest. And so I'm kind of shooting my old trusty setup. I've got a Hoyt Carbon Defiant, which that bow is actually kind of old now.
Gosh, yeah, it's 10 years old.
It is, but it's comfortable to me. And I told myself, I'm like, I want to get a new bow, but I want to buy the right bow, and you got to go shoot a bunch to see which one's right for you. You can read all the reviews and everything, but everyone's so different. And so next year I hope to go shoot some and see what I like. But right now I'm shooting and another thing I tell someone, it doesn't matter if I'm shooting a 10-year-old bow or a brand new bow. If you put the arrow where it's supposed to go, it's going to kill the elk. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah, so, so I'm shooting Montec, or I'm sorry, not Montec, Muzzy, Trocars is what I'm shooting, and I've had great success with those, and again, like the broadhead almost doesn't matter either, as long as you hit them where you need to hit them, right?
Yep. In fact, my archery guy Dan Prakar says this all the time. I can shoot him with a field point if I put it in the right spot. That's right. That's not the problem. It's when things go sideways that you start stacking the deck in your favor. And you're 100%. Broadheads are that all the way down to what call you're using. It's just if everything's perfect, it doesn't matter. So And that's one of the other things that's unique about bow hunting is there's so many variables that you have to deal with, that you try and stack the deck in your favor as much as your ethics or you're willing to, but still things go, Mother Nature just hands you a shit sandwich sometimes. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think that's what's enjoyable about archery for me. Is that challenge. More than anything, I love being in the terrain that elk love. It's no different, and this is what's just awesome for me as a snowmobiler is, my definition of heaven on a snowmobile is a north-facing, steep-ass slope with trees everywhere that I'm trying to get to the top of. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, I get hung up and I'm upside down in this tree and I'm digging my snowmobile out and I'm digging and I'll see an elk rub 10 feet from me. Literally. And I'm just like, yep, I'm in my happy place here. And so, those elk are no different. And it's funny, talk about just how hunting correlates with me on the snowmobile side of things. Is my goal is always to get from point A to point B, which is normally straight up a hill, with the least path of resistance. And that's all an elk is doing too. An elk does have the ability to go straight up the mountain, but it's not. It's using those natural shelves and benches and taking the steepness out of the hill to be efficient. And it's awesome. I mean, I literally, when I'm, trying to get in on a herd it doesn't happen by mistake. I'm just going where I feel like I know where they are. And I feel like, with my snowmobile background, it really helps me to understand the terrain, how to get there.
Yep. And understand how to read terrain with, looking at the top of trees going, okay, that is the top of the ridge, or I think there's something else behind that. So before we get too far down this, I'll kind of introduce you and have you fill in some of the holes. So Chris, you've been where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Colorado?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick story. So I grew up in Denver. I was a city kid.
Okay.
And so I've been a Colorado native all my life, but grew up in Denver. And my grandparents had a cabin up in northern Colorado, just outside of Kremlin, Colorado. And that is where I got exposed to snowmobiling. My grandfather was a hunter. My dad hunted a little bit, but he owned his own business and and just worked his butt off trying to provide for the family. So his definition of hunting was getting up on the mountain to take a nap. Right. He was using it to just and so the times I would go with him, and he was a rifle hunter, it's balls cold and he's sitting there sleeping and I'm this little wiry kid. I'm freezing my butt off. I'm like, this is dumb. So I honestly didn't like hunting or take up hunting until I was in my early 20s, when someone let me borrow a bow and said, you should go try this. And it didn't take much to get hooked after that.
Yeah, late season rifle hunting is a lot different weather than September 1st, isn't it? It's a whole different ball of wax, and everything's different. That's so true. So how did you get into professional? Because I don't know if you can get more professional snowmobiling than you. I mean, everything from racing to X Games. How many times did you win the X Games?
So I won 2007, first ever to win the snowmobile freestyle event there. That was kind of my claim to fame there in 2007. Boy, that's dating myself a little bit, but that was a very defining moment in my life. I knew very young age that I wanted to be in the snowmobile industry somehow. And I always told people I wanted to be a professional snowmobiler. And I'll never forget the response that, when my grandma was asking me when I was a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up, Chris? I'm like, I want to be a professional snowmobiler. And she's like, that's nice, but what do you really want to be? And I think about that a lot. And, it was because at the time, there wasn't snowmobiling wasn't a profession. I mean, there was racing, but you had to be the best to make any sort of living or money at the time. But thankfully, freestyle motocross was really getting big at that time, and the snowmobile scene was kind of following that trend. And it was just really good timing. And I wasn't a great racer, but I really liked jumping. And so jumping kind of led to freestyle. Freestyle led to X Games. Winning X Games led to me starting my business of Brandt's Backcountry Adventure, which is my true passion of, showing people how to ride a snowmobile in this gnarly terrain that we all love.
Yeah, and that's that's what takes up most of your time right now.
It is. Yeah.
Brandt's back. That's one of the one of the coolest things I think is that you take all this experience and you get to share it. It's like going through a master's class of boondocking, snowmobiling, and being being the guy that gets to share that knowledge and watching guys grow. I'm sure it's entertaining too for you. I can only imagine.
I mean, it's got all of those, but what's truly incredible about it, I mean, we've been doing this since 2008. So this is something that we've put a tremendous amount of time, effort, money, and passion into. And, we get about 75% return rate on our clients, which is, I mean, now they're not clients. I mean, they're literally friends, and it's it's no different than when you find a good outfitter, they give you no reason to not want to come back. And that's what we strive for here as well.
So let's explain to my audience that doesn't know, let's explain kind of your style of snowmobiling. Cause I think there's a lot of guys out there that think, oh, I just ride a snowmobile down a trail like I would on a four-wheeler down a road. This is a completely different, this is a very athletic, it's skiing uphill, basically. It's very extreme.
Yeah, it's what's pretty awesome, and the whole premise of how I was able to create this little niche in this industry was, back in the early 2000s, snowmobiles did not have the capability of being on what we call edge. So being able to traverse across a hill. We could go up and down a hill, but traversing across the hill, the sleds just weren't made for that. And so it kind of really limited where you could go. So there was the trail rider or the lake racer or the wide open hill climb guy, right? So it was about 2005 when the snowmobiles started kind of trending in a direction where the sled was now capable of getting into this more off-camber terrain, and you could do things that you had never even thought about prior. And so it really revitalized the sport for many thousands of people. And now all these people from the Midwest who used to just be passionate about running on the lake and the trails, that has diminished, and now everybody just buys a mountain sled and goes out west to learn this new style.
Right. And so I had the opportunity as a kid to grow up in Jackson Hole. I mean, I grew up snowmobiling since we were little kids. Mm-hmm. In fact, I don't remember not doing it. And honestly, you'll laugh. My first snowmobile was a Polaris Colt. That was my first snowmobile, and that was the first time I ever got anything stuck by myself and went, I don't know if I can get this out. This is going to be interesting. But
I think it'd be the same today if you got it stuck.
That's right. But I grew up and it was the era of the Snow King Challenge all started, and the RMK wasn't even there. I can remember I was in 6th grade when the first Indy ever came out, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. When I moved over here to Powell, Wyoming, it was in 2003, and I got my first 900. It was a 900. The thing was huge. It was long, like a 163. It was purple and gray. I called it the bus because you could not turn that thing around in a parking lot. I guarantee you.
Yep.
But, that was about the time that everything changed when the trail arms went away and everything changed and you could side hill. My buddies and I, it changed the game. It changed everything that we knew about snowmobiling, and it made it so much more fun, and we could go places that we never thought we could go. And now I look back at what we do on a weekend and think, I wonder if an Indy could ever get up here, and I might try it just for the challenge.
Well, and you can see in the background here, I have a true passion for those 90 Indy sleds, because that's what I grew up on. And I'm telling you, there is nothing more fun now than taking those things out and trying to get to where you take the new sleds. It's a ball.
That sounds fun. I need to try that. I have to drum up one of those. I'm somewhere, an old Spitfire.
I got like
or something.
20 of them. You let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So
my wife would thank you.
And my wife would hate you because
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You need another something with a motor in your shop, dummy.
That's right.
So you went into that. You started archery hunting. Did you go straight from high school into snowmobiling? Was there a time when you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go try college or baseball or anything?
Yeah. So that's a funny story. I did try college. I actually went to University of Idaho up in Moscow, Idaho. Beautiful place, and it was really cool. Me and a buddy from Colorado just got on a whim. Let's go to Idaho and go to school. And so we went up there for a year, but unfortunately, it was way too close to McCall, Idaho. And McCall, Idaho is like some of the best snowmobiling ever. And what's very interesting, the difference between high school and college is, in college, because you're paying them, they don't really care if you go to school or not. So yeah. I did very well in snowmobiling class. I did not do all that well in the college classes. So so I did 1 year of college, and then I actually got offered a really fun job of splicing fiber optics with a buddy.
Oh my
and
gosh.
So being young and just out of school and getting paid to go travel the country and then kind of make our own schedule. And he was a snowmobiler too, so we could go snowmobile in the winter. I was like, yep, I'm going to go to work.
That sounds perfect. I have my winters off to snowmobile. I make probably really good money.
It was good money back then.
Was brand new. And you travel all over and do it. Oh yeah. I actually have a college friend that did the same thing. He's still doing it actually.
It was a blast. And so I had a couple real jobs before like snowmobiling. I did fiber and really, fiber was after that, that's when that freestyle movement started. And I made the big commitment and I quit my job and I went and started doing freestyle shows for money through my sled in the back of my truck, and went to middle of cornfield tours in Iowa and go jump my sled for a day and make $1,000 and head out. And so I was doing that. And then I worked for Arctic actually for a few years, doing a couple different things. I was a district sales manager for them for a little bit. And then where a really fun job was in 2005, they came out with their M7, which is a pretty revolutionary snowmobile. Yeah. And they gave me the keys to the truck and a trailer full of sleds and said, hey, why don't you go show everyone how cool this sled is? And so for a season, I got to go travel all over the place and get to go ride. And that's really when the idea popped in my head. I'm like, people just love this. Like I could, if I play my cards right, this is something that I could make a living out of.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was in so I have a really good friend that grew up in West Yellowstone, Montana, and they have, I don't know, you probably know this, but they have an Arctic I guess it's a test facility there.
Yeah.
And so we'd go ride with him, and he was one of the engineers on the M7. And
is it Jason Howell?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They're not really cousins, but his best friend, which is one of my best friends, Ryan Linhart, he's the LEO over there. But we would go over there and get to ride with those guys, and I saw all the the prototypes of all those sleds. It was crazy. They were doing stuff that was way out of the box, which is cool. Yeah, Jason's a good dude.
Super good. Yep.
Yes. So started traveling, and then how did you go from taking basically demo rides with guys to the X Games?
So There was a pretty tricky time. So in 2005, I was doing the M7 tour with Arctic, and then that district sales manager position came available, and that was a tough one for me. It was something from an experience standpoint that I thought would be really good for me, but from a time standpoint, it was an insane schedule. It was a busy schedule. The money was good, and I needed money. Snowmobiles are expensive toys and trucks and trailers. And so, from a financial standpoint, I was like, I think this is a good move. From an experience standpoint, I think this is a good move. And it was great. I met so many people and dealers and learned a lot about being efficient at work and managing your time. And so I did that for almost 2 years. And what was really tough about that was I was trying to do the freestyle thing while being a district sales manager. So I did not have much time on my hands. And so the timing was crazy. 2007 comes up. I'm still a DSM. We get the word that X Games is going to have this new event called Snowmobile Freestyle. And I mean, this is, I had been doing freestyle from about 2002 to 2007. So 5 years of traveling, doing shows all over the world, which was a blast. But, I couldn't make a living at it. I could make some money. But, X Games that is the big stage, right? And so, and at the time I hadn't learned the backflip was just kind of just getting going. I mean, the moto guys were doing it. There was a couple guys doing it on the snowmobile, but to be honest, I was pretty terrified of it. And the contests I was doing, I could win contests without the backflip if guys screwed up, or I was at least on the podium, right? But when X Games announced, like, hey, you guys, it's your turn, I was like, well, this is the time. I got to go learn it. And so literally 2 weeks before X Games, I took off from work and I went and learned how to do a backflip and showed up at X Games just about as confident as you could be at 25 years old, and went out and won the dang thing. And so here's another funny thing. So I go out and win X Games, still a DSM. I get a call after X Games from Slednex. Slednex is an old time snowmobile video company, and who had really helped me get on the scene as well. And the guys at Slednex called and said, hey, we just had a couple Hollywood producers call, and they said they want you to be a stunt double for a Vin Diesel movie, but you got to go to Sweden for a month. I'm like, hold on, let me call you right back. I called my boss at Arctic, said, I love you guys, but I'm out. I mean, I'm like, the money that they were going to pay plus my money I won at X Games, I'm like, dude, I am a snowmobiler. I am 100% a snowmobiler, and I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to make this happen.
I'm going to wear an Arctic symbol, so you'll be fine, but this is what I'm doing.
So that was pretty cool. That was, there's just, I love to explain it, with X Games. I really fast forwarded over X Games and kind of how big of an event that was in my life. But, we are given opportunities every single day in our lives of, do you want to take the easy way or the hard way? And it's fine, whichever way you choose. But to be honest, most people take the convenient and easy way and they go on living, and it's fine. But I'm just not that person. I love the reward at the end of the day when it's harder. And, that day at X Games, I could have chosen not to go flip my snowmobile 100 feet through the air, but I didn't take that path. I wanted to win. I didn't want to get second. So.
And you were the first guy to do it at X Games, right?
Well, I was the first one to win at X Games. So there had been guys backflipping prior to that. There was a big 100-foot step down jump that no one wanted to flip, and I was the first one to flip it at X Games to kind of get me on to the next round, which got me into the finals, and then the rest is history.
Wow, that's crazy.
Pretty cool.
That is really cool. So, at what point? So you obviously went and did this for a living, lived in Sweden for 30 days and then came back and said, okay, I think I can take this and build Brandt's Backcountry Adventures. What was the idea there? Is it what you guys are doing now, or is it kind of morphed and changed?
It's definitely morphed and changed. It was really interesting. The very first years, our tagline was "Can you hang?" And it was, so basically we had a ton of people who had seen this type of riding I was doing, like in the Sled Next movies and more of the mainstream media back then, DVDs and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. And really it was like, hey, if you think you can ride, come out here and we'll show you what real riding is, and still have fun with it and everything. But it was more or less like, come here, I'm going to go kick your butt. I'm going to show you what snowmobiles are capable of, so you can take that home and practice. And we did, we had lodging and cooked meals, and we kind of did a whole turnkey deal. And it's definitely changed a lot from then. I found that the repeat customer business wasn't as big when you just like got people stuck every 2 seconds as it was of, really having a structure and making these guys feel like they get a value out of coming here, and where they can see for themselves that, holy cow, I've never been able to do something like that on a snowmobile. This is actually pretty cool.
Progression. So do you guys still do lodging? You still do the meals? Still, and is it usually like 3-day events?
Yeah, exactly. 3 days, 4 nights. Yep.
Okay.
Any more than 3 days, they can't really walk. So it's 3 days, 4 nights. Yeah.
I can't really walk after 3 days.
Yep.
I'm too fat and old for that. So where do you find that as? Is it chrisburandt.com? Or
yep.
do you have
our website is brantsbackcountryadventure.com or chrisburandt.com, and that gets you there. And then, so that's a fairly major portion of our business. But, over the last 5 years, we've really transferred into, so not only were taking people out riding, was that something that was a needed service, but people love modding snowmobiles. And I've been addicted to that since about, my first snowmobile. And so over all of these years, it's no different than the hunting industry. You have all these options, right? And so what we've really focused on is, you don't have to buy a lot of things. You just have to buy a few of the right things to make your experience even better. And so we put a lot of time and effort into that. And so our online store, to be honest, is our now major part of our business. So online store, sled builds, and parts is what our main focus is now. But I got to do the tour so I can go ride,
to prove that the recipe works.
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about the foreign stuff. Obviously you guys aren't doing that in August anymore, or at least you're either coming or going from that.
So that was really fun. It would be like, this is what is so frustrating about hunting. I mean, as a bow hunter, I get to hunt 1 month a year, and you do all of that work to hunt 1 month a year. Snowmobiles in Colorado, I mean, I'm starting snowmobiling in as early as October, and I'm snowmobiling all the way to June. And I'm fairly addicted to this sport. And so I always thought, like, man, it would be cool to be able to go ride in the summer when it's 100 degrees at home and you're just over it. And that's where Chile in South America came into the picture. And it was pretty neat. It was, that was another project that I underestimated what it took to actually do, but we did it. And we operated down, we found just an awesome group of guys down there and partnered with them, used their facility and their terrain in their area. And then I did everything else from the sled standpoint, parts and bookings and all of that. But we did that for 4 years. So being able to go ride, and I'll tell you, I think the reason that both snowmobiling and hunting is so intriguing to people is because it's an adventure. And when we talk about riding in the Andes in South America in August, and literally you kids, when you're down there and you're going into these crazy places, you can say without any doubt that there has never been a person with a snowmobile where I am right now. And that's pretty cool to say.
Jeez. So the logistics of that has to be insane. Trying to
It was
get,
terrible.
it's not like you're going to go down to town if you break an A-arm. You better have one on hand
That's right.
or
Yeah.
part
So
one out.
so we would ship containers of snowmobiles and parts. And you're exactly right. Anything, we would have to rely solely on what we brought because there wasn't anything down there, which that again, it's like you use your experience and your preparation and hope you get it close enough.
Wow. And so how crazy is the snow in Chile versus like what you're used to in Colorado? Is it similar? Is it
It
more?
was
Is it less?
completely different. Yeah. So,
Is it?
and what's very unique about Chile is
Are you an avid hunter looking for the perfect trailer to haul your gear? Look no further than Team Lodge trailers. These trailers are made in South Dakota and for the ultimate hybrid of a camper and a trailer. With the ability to haul your side-by-side ATV, dirt bike, e-bikes, and more, you'll never have to leave your gear behind. They are extremely sturdy with no wind shake or movement when someone is walking in the camper. Plus, they are waterproof and designed by hunters who actually use the product. The bear-proof base camp ensures to safety while out in the wild. You'll also love that these trailers are outfitted with the only accessories and the features you want. Premium components are used in every part of the setups, making Team Lodge trailers the best choice for your outdoor adventures.
It's a very dynamic country where we were in the southern part of Chile where the elevation actually was fairly low. Our lodge was around 5,000 feet and we would ride around 6,500 up to like some of the volcanoes we would ride on were like 10,000. But what was insane was in the northern part of Chile, like up by Santiago, there was 20,000 plus foot peaks,
Oh my
20,000.
gosh.
I'll never forget some Polaris test riders went down there a couple years prior to me going down there, and they rode the northern part of Chile, and they said that they were riding places where they could hold a snowmobile pinned uphill for like 4 minutes, and be
Oh
up at
my,
like 18,000 feet.
how that's got to be a testament to a sled being able to run at that altitude. I mean, helicopters won't go that high.
It was pretty phenomenal. And so what's interesting about where we were riding is so it's coastal snow. So a lot of moisture content in it. And it's crazy. There would be days where it would snow 2 feet and it would be light blower snow. And 2 days later it's raining.
Oh my gosh.
And you're riding in the rain. I mean, it was so diverse and talk about like crazy terrain. I just got back from a family vacation. We went to Costa Rica for the first time, and it's so tropical and green. And it was funny when I was explaining to my wife and kids because they haven't been to Chile yet with me. I was like, this is what Chile's like, but there's snow on the ground. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it was literally, you would be riding through green bamboo with parrots flying around on the snow, riding
You're
snow.
kidding me.
No, I mean, it was like, I described it to people as it was like riding in Jurassic Park. You swear there was going to be a velociraptor around a corner because they have these 2,000-year-old trees called araucaria trees that were about the size of your truck around.
Wow.
Just a magical place. And I miss going down there, but 2020 was the demise. I mean, it made it so difficult to travel, and which in hindsight, it was a blessing. I mean, it made us shift our focus from, doing tours in Chile and Canada to focusing more on the store. And now the store is, again, just such a huge part of our business. And it's a lot, you have a lot more people on computers than you do coming out to ride snowmobiles. So
I hear you. So the store, buying parts, buying gear, I mean, everything there. Yeah. So getting kind of back into hunting a little bit, is hunting for you a vacation that you obviously spend? Are you going to spend all of September, all the first season doing this? Or because obviously you're not snowmobiling in September, but the store still exists. People are still buying parts and prepping.
That's been the toughest part, to be honest, Ike, is that when I was just doing the tours, I could go dedicate 20 days in September to hunting. And now September 1, people's brains switch. It's not summer anymore. It's time to get ready for snowmobiling. And so from the online side of things, there's so much prep and work that goes into that to make sure you have inventory and these packages and parts and all of this stuff put together. Like we are busy right now, way busier than I want to be for archery being on Saturday. But and again, it's a balance. And thankfully with being able to hunt in my hometown or home state,
Right.
that I can get done at 3 and I can go jump on the mountain and go do an evening hunt. Right. But
That's awesome.
I do miss the days when I got to go just go hunt 20 days.
20 days and I'll be back, honey.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, that's hard on mama too. And so we have 2 kids as well. I've got a 14-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter. My daughter will be 12 in September, and she's so fired up to hunt this year. So that'll be really
That's
cool.
fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
And those are the years. So I have my youngest is 11, my oldest is 13, both girls. And
Same, yeah.
these are very formidable years, and I try and not be gone all the time just because I need to be making soccer games and volleyball games and all that stuff. But I'm sure it's similar to what you do in the winter is you're just running and gunning and put your your head down, your butt up, just making donuts in the morning.
Yep.
How are you balancing that? Because there's a lot of guys, especially in my audience, there's a lot of guys that are trying to balance life and family. Do you have a secret? Do you focus on one thing, or is there something that triggers?
I'll tell you what I wouldn't. I'll tell you all the mistakes I made and what I would have done different. That's for sure. And I think it all comes back to from the kids' standpoint. I think I do the best I can. I feel I do a good job of making sure that my kids love dad and they want to do things with dad. But that comes at a sacrifice with time with my wife, because it's hard to do both. And, luckily my wife is, she's just about as passionate and just hardworking and just whatever, I'll get it done, and it's easy to take advantage of that though. And I'd say that's one of the mistakes. And it's easy to, as a guy, it's easy to say, well, I'm working all these long hours. I deserve to get to go hunt. You don't deserve that. She is as much of deserving as you are, but you're leaving and she's having to deal with everything at home.
Right.
So I think, that's my biggest thing that I want to work on for the rest of my life is making sure that she's enjoying life too, not just me. And I think that's important. I think from the kids' standpoint, like summers now for me, again, and that was one of the things that was kind of a blessing in disguise with Chile being kind of canceled in 2020 was, me being home and just literally dedicating my entire summer to my wife and kids. And that's, for the last few years, that's been really fun. And this summer, I mean, I checked out from social media. I checked out from everything and just said, I'm going to go focus on my kids and my wife and go have some fun. And I'll tell you, when you do that, it makes you realize how shitty social media is, how much time it is. And don't take me wrong. I love all aspects. It has created all of these great things for my family and my business and me personally, but it takes so much time away to do it correctly. And so I'm really working on that and trying to balance that as well.
I am glad I'm not the only one that has the, it's a devil, and it can suck you in, and controlling it is horrible because they play a game with your mind. I actually had on my podcast here a couple weeks ago. There's a guy named Michael Easter, and he's an author. He wrote a book called the comfort crisis, and he's about to write another book, or he's about to release another book. But he went down a rabbit hole of what social media does and how it plays with your gambling side of your personality. And actually he paralleled it with hunting, which is really interesting. Back to what we were talking about with hunting, as far as, you know, the challenge and all that stuff, it's actually ingrained in our psyche to take the harder road because of our ancestors trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
They always had to take a hard road. In fact, they did a study on animals, and they had rats, and they had dogs, and they had all kinds of animals that pigeons, that if they got food every single time without fail, they would still choose the risk and reward of gambling to get more food or no food. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
And he paralleled it with hunting. He said, sometimes you walk into the forest, you walk into that basin where there was 400 elk, and there's 400 elk. Sometimes you walk into that basin, there's nothing. He said, and that's what keeps you coming back every single time. Yep. He said, social media is the same way. We feed off of likes and shares and comments. And so he said, every quarter you should take a step back from social media for more than 3 days, because it takes three days to purge that mentally. Step back and get away from it. And I think I do that with hunting, of course, but I also do it with snowmobiling, because most of the places I go snowmobiling, there's no cell service.
Yeah.
Well, unless you have Elon Musk, you know, satellite, it doesn't, you know, you can purge yourself from that. That's really interesting that you said that. Actually, we live opposite worlds, because I hunt for a living, and so that's my work. But when I go snowmobiling, that's time away from the family, and so I have to balance that. And
yep.
It was really hard when the kids were young. It's a little easier now, because my youngest always wants to go, which has changed the whole thing. That's, you know, you'll see this with hunting. It's not the hunting that you once did, but it's just as good and just as fun.
Yeah, it's and I agree, and I think that's what's been fun. My son is kind of like me when I was a kid. He's just not into hunting right now. He's into his Sur-Ron bikes, and he loves snowmobiling and all that stuff. But my daughter, you know, she went with me last year. This is no joke. Last year was my first year. I only got just a few days of hunting in because just life, you know, I needed to catch up with family and just, I had other obligations, which was, I thought it was going to be really hard, but it was fun seeing the reward of a happy wife and kids that were, you know, like that was really good. And so, but I got a call from a buddy. He said, dude, I got a bull down. I need some help. And my daughter loves the breakdown of the animal part and the pack out. She loves that more than the shooting part. And so this was no joke. I mean, he was at 12,200 feet. And it's a 2-mile hike in, and she went up there with me, and she carried out a back strap, and like she's this little 65-pound little thing, you know.
Oh my gosh.
She's awesome. So, I mean, again, I agree that like the hunting, it will change a little bit, but I told her, I'm like, this is going to be no mercy. She's like, I'm coming, Dad. I'm coming with you. Okay, let's go.
That is so cool. My youngest is the same way. She thrives. The hunting is fine. She really thrives once the animal's dead. She wants to, you know, play with the eyeballs and see what's this and what's that, and you know, she's the one that's elbow deep in the whole thing every time something happens, and that's really cool. So one of the questions I have, because you have an enormous following and obviously popularity and fame and all of that stuff. One of the things that I ask guys that are you know, similar to you is, how do you keep from believing your own rhetoric? And that means, we call it in my business, we call it, how do you keep from the disease, which is, you've seen guys get it, and they all of a sudden they think, you know, I am the man. How and I think you've done a really good job keeping from doing that. Do you recognize that you do it, or is it just natural?
Well, I think that's a great point, because it's really easy. And this is what's what I really enjoy about this time of my life. And I enjoy all parts. I enjoyed it when I was 25 and not scared of anything. I enjoyed it when I was 35, when I was still really physically strong and way smarter and making better decisions. And I really enjoy that now that I'm going to be 45 this October. I'm still very physically fit because I work on that hard, but just from a mental aspect, I'm stronger than I've ever been, and smarter. And I think, just for me personally, I don't ever think I can win snowmobiling, because there's always a mountain that I can't get up. There's always a line that I'm going to screw up on. And that's what I love about both hunting and snowmobiling at the both, is you're never going to win it. Like, I'm always going to screw up. Now, I'm going to have my successes and I'm going to have my wins, but I'm going to have way more failures. And I promise you learn from your failures way more than your successes. And so I think, and this is from a young age, my dad taught me, and we grew up with nothing. I mean, my parents co-signed on my first snowmobile loan before my car loan.
Wow.
Like, I've just, from the beginning, I knew I needed to work hard to be able to afford the things I wanted to do in life. And, that's snowmobiles and trucks and take off time to go hunting. And you gotta just work hard, and you can't burn bridges. So, I mean, I'm just not that person in nature, I guess. But you can go down that road. You can definitely, and again, I think social media tries to make you go down that road. And I don't know. I just try to be humble. I try to treat people like I'd want to be treated. And it's a fairly simple recipe, but it's easy to get it wrong sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you're right. Social media feeds that, and it is a dangerous little game. So, do you have passions other than hunting or snowmobiling? Is there something else you're like, man, oh, I really love pottery or something?
I mean, hunting and snowmobile are my top two for sure. I really enjoy, dirt biking is fun. I like, because it's the same thing. It's, vehicle control, and you're in this gnarly terrain, and people are asking, why do you enjoy this? This is terrible. And I love it. I love the struggle. So, dirt biking is fun. I think, you know, the hiking part of hunting is probably my favorite. I just love getting my ass kicked, and just feeling like someone's trying to whoop me out there, but I'm not letting them.
Yeah.
I love that part. Just the heavier the pack, the better. The more my legs burn, the better. And then, because it just makes that reward so much more rewarding, and I don't know. I enjoy the misery, and because it's not misery, it makes me stronger, both more mentally tough, more physically tough, and I like that aspect of it. And no different than snowmobiling. It's the same. Like, I get so frustrated when I can't get up something. It's so much more drive to do it better the next time.
So do you have some coaching things that you share with your guys? Because I'm sure the guys that you get, and maybe not so much now, since 75% of your guys are repeat customers, but do you have some coaching advice on the mental aspect and how to overcome that?
Yeah, and it's no different than what I try to instill into my kids. So, this is my craft. This is what I do for a living. I can do it in my sleep, and it's easy for me. So what I try to instill in them is what I'm asking you to do is not physically impossible. It's more mentally, you're letting the mental aspect of it defeat you more than the physical part. Because literally, I'm counter steering, giving it a little bit of throttle, and pulling the sled up on edge, right? Like, it's a very simple process, but when you don't do it in the correct order or at the right time or timing, it can be difficult. And so, and that's the biggest thing, is I just try to tell them, like, this isn't a physical thing. It's way more mental. And I think that's what these guys really enjoy out of the process, is that because they come here as a snowmobiler, but they leave here with a more determined aspect on life, without question. They know that if they can do something that they've never done before on a snowmobile, that they can take that same approach in life. And like, nothing is hard anymore, right? It just takes a little bit more work. If you get beat down, learn from it, fix it, and move on. Right. That's like,
Yeah.
and so I think that mentality is really what a lot of the guys enjoy about coming here.
That's really good advice. That's because that's what life is really about, is learning from your mistakes and growing from it and try not to repeat it. And that's exactly what you're teaching on the mountain. And that's what you should be learning in the field hunting. And that's what you should be learning with your family, with your wife's relationship, with your kids' relationship, with your work environment.
All of it.
Yeah, that's just great life advice. That's unbelievable, Chris. So I got a couple questions, and one of them is going to be tough, and I apologize for that up front, but it is always impressing to me when people think about it for a second, and what makes them think. And the reason I ask, I'll share in a second. But before we go there, so why do you hunt? What drives you to burn 9 points to go on a bow hunt and spend, weeks out there learning from your mistakes?
Yeah. I think about this a lot, and I I love the opportunity to harvest an animal. I love the whole process of it. I love the meat. I love the breakdown. I love the respect that we have for these animals. I love how hard it is. I love the challenge. So I think all of those kind of play into it. But more than anything, it really is, you have to be perfect to be successful. And I'm an OCD type of person. And so I enjoy that process of getting your butt kicked and figuring out what you need to do it better and be successful the next time. So I think for me, it's the challenge. It's knowing that it's really hard to do, and to be successful, you have to be good at it. And I love the challenge of that.
Yeah,
And on all aspects, and we kind of touched on it, the physical aspect. Like, I mean, I quit snowmobiling like from a work standpoint in mid-April, like April 15th. April 16th, I am in the gym getting ready for bow season. And I love that is the drive. And it's so easy to get up in the morning to get going, because I know like my body needs to be at 100% to have a chance to keep up with an elk, right?
Yeah.
The elk have such an advantage on us, which is fun. They're more physically fit. They know the mountain better than we do. And so to outwit all of that, you have to do a lot of preparation.
That's right. And that just gets you, once again, making that perfect opportunity.
Yep, that's right.
That's really good. So here recently, you posted about Sig Sauer's stabilizing bino. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you talk, because I have my own unbelievable opinion. But how long have you been using them?
All right, so let's talk about the Sig relationship. This was really super cool. I actually got contacted by Sig 3 years ago to come, and they love what I do in the snowmobile industry. They see that I hunt, and I think it's really cool that they attach to people outside of their industry, from a personality standpoint. And so I got to go do the 6 Hour Hunter Games. And I
Nice.
actually got teamed up with one of, a person that I look up to immensely in the hunting industry, Corey Jacobson.
Okay.
And so it was really cool to get to hang out with Corey for a few days. And so I show up to the event and, they hand you this rifle. This is yours. Here's these new binos and all this stuff. And I'm like, binos? I have binos. I got my Swaros here, Oh, no. These are real binos. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like these are going to replace. And I'm a bino nut. I have literally 6 pairs of, all different brands and just everything. And those all just sit there now. The Sig has done a pretty incredible job of bringing technology to you. And here's the thing is, and I think what's funny when you talk about glass, it's no different than like the manufacturer of snowmobiles, right? Like if you ride this brand, you suck, right? Yeah. Like if you use these binos and you don't use mine, you suck. And so
green is better. No, black is better. No, yellow is better.
Yep. So, and I think, so I came into it with a pretty yeah, right type. I have Swaros. That's what I run, and you're not going to tell me any different. And the first time I picked them up and used them, I was like, whoa, that's different. And then, and then to get them in the field, and you did a great job explaining it. And this is what I tell everybody who, when they ask are they that big of a difference? It's the difference of seeing a buck and knowing that he's a 3x4 and that he's got a third that's chipped versus I think that's a pretty decent buck up there. I mean, right. You can tell with that much detail. And I mean, shed hunting, it's absolutely incredible. It has found me so many sheds that I just would have never seen before because of the image stabilization. It's found me animals where I wouldn't have found them before because of the range. That 16, I haven't got to use the 20 yet, but that 16 is a game changer. There are certain gear products that on my snowmobile that I cannot leave the trailer without. And it's no different than hunting. It would be dumb to have anything else but those.
Yeah, it is unbelievable how it changed the game in a sense that it's made me way more efficient in the field. It's saved my legs when they needed to be saved. It's changed because I hunted, the first year I hunted with him was about 4 years ago now, and sitting next to somebody that's using regular range finding binos, and I would go, oh, that's a 3-point, and they're just going, well, it's a good mainframe. And I would be on to something else and go, oh, and I don't have to find a spotting scope to go, well, I think that's good, and focused on that deer when the bigger buck is standing 20 yards or laying in underneath a bush 20 yards away, and I'm already looking at that buck. I already know what it is. It's a complete game changer. I always tell people it's like when we found out rangefinders exist. It changed the whole game completely.
Well, and you say rangefinder because I have their new HDX 4K rangefinder that has the same technology, and I've been, that was one of my biggest beefs with the rangefinder game was, I had a Leopold for a long time, and it had, the ballistics and all the fun stuff. And when you have that bull bugling in your face and you're doing that shaking, trying to get the number and everything, it's to have the same technology now in the rangefinder, it's just as good.
Yeah, it's epic. It's unbelievable. Well, I'm glad that you got to go down. So you were down in southern Wyoming when you went on the games. Yep. Yeah. So the ranch. So I hunt every year. One of my best friends owns the ranch right next to that. The Fronds. It's so much fun. We go down there every year. I'm not going to make it
incredible country.
Oh, it is the deer mecca of mule deer. It's just unreal. But
sweet.
So last question I have, I know you're busy. I'll let you, we'll get off this. We don't need to spend all day talking. However, I think we both
could.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be kind of a deep one, but I think it's important for people. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'll explain why. What is Chris going to be thinking about on his deathbed? God willing, you have the ability. It doesn't happen quick, but you get the ability to be thinking and contemplating your life. What are you going to be thinking about? And here's why I ask this. I think there's a lot of guys out there in the world that don't think of the end until it's there, and which means they don't live like there's an end, if that makes sense. They're,
Yeah.
oh, I'll spend 12 hours a day on social media, or I'll be doing, whatever's not really important to me. And then they get to the end and go, you know, I should have done this. No one ever says, oh, I should have worked more when they're laying there, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to be thinking about on your deathbed, and how is that going to change the way you live every day?
Yeah, and this might be a little different than what most people think, but I actually think about that a lot. I think if I think about this, like if I died today, what would I feel like? I am very content, to be honest. Like I've done everything. I mean, I've reached the peak of my sport and I worked hard at it. I feel like I'm a competent hunter and that I can go and get the job done. I feel like I've instilled what I need to instill in my kids, that they can go and make good life decisions and be humble and be kind. I'd say, as you felt in the first part of the conversation, my goals from here on out is to keep showing my wife how grateful I am that she has allowed me to do all of those things, because all of those things were very selfish things. To become the best snowmobiler and a good hunter, those are just really selfish things, and
Yeah.
it took a lot of sacrifice. So for me, I have zero, I'm not scared of death at all. Like I love my life. I love that I get to do what I do. And I just, like, if I died tomorrow, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, really, I'm like in a good spot. And maybe 10
Awesome.
years ago, I wouldn't be able to say that. There's so many more things I'd want to do, but I'm 45, and like life is just awesome. I'm really able to, the last couple years, I've been able to just take some deep breaths from the business standpoint and not have to work 7 days a week, 28 hours a day, and just enjoy life. And I enjoyed the working part. I enjoyed that hectic schedule. So that was kind of hard to back it down a little bit. But, it's, my time is still full. It's just full with
Yeah.
different things and different priorities. So I don't know if that answers it completely. I mean, I guess you could take a couple of the tidbits of, I just hope people think of me of a dude who is like happy-go-lucky, would do anything for you, and would be a guy that you'd want to go hang out with and have fun with.
Yeah. I think that answers it perfectly. I mean, that's what everybody's hoping for is peace, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just peace, and okay when it's done. So that's
Yep.
cool. Well, I very much appreciate you coming on, Chris, and hopefully we can share a mountain sometime, if it's on
Heck
top of
yeah.
snow or if it's in the elk country.
Either
Um,
one would be a blast.
yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to talk to a fellow snowmobiler that is passionate about it, and of course now we share hunting. That's even better. So I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, we're kind of just opening the cards to, I mean, you need to come snowmobile with me and I need to go hunting with you. I mean, really, that's
I
all we
think
got to
that's a
do.
great idea. I think that's a great idea. I am
Perfect.
in. Let's do that. Let's plan something like that.
Let's make it happen.